Hi everyone, welcome to DIY Ideas. So today, as you can see, we're doing another mask video, and today I want to show you how you can make a mask without a sewing machine. So this is for all of you that don't have a sewing machine at home but would still like a DIY mask. So this is again going to be a universal size for everyone, adults and kids, and it's going to be super simple, super quick, and I'll show you how you can do this. So it's just going to be one stitch over here, and that's basically it. You're going to get a mask as a result. So let's get right to it and start. Okay, you guys, so here is what I have, a couple of needles, or a needle set in my case. Just regular sewing needles of any kind that you can find. I bought here a whole set, but you can of course do just one if you already have one at home. You can also choose your own size, but I do recommend not taking something too small or too big. And your thread should be in a matching color or in the color of your choosing, of course. And the fabric is going to be an old t-shirt in my case. You can take pretty much anything. I do recommend taking something that's out of cotton just so you can have higher temperatures when you wash it so that you can disinfect it every time you wear it. So a little bit stretchy is fine, but not too stretchy. So yeah, just take something you're not wearing anymore or something that's gotten a little bit old, something that's a little bit stretchy as I mentioned, and you're ready to go. Okay, you guys, so here is what I have for now, and we're going to do two exactly identical halves in order to keep this as easy as possible. So this is just going to be two different examples of how you can do this or out of which materials, but apart from that, they're completely the same. This is a general size for adults, so you should be able to wear it regardless of your face size and shape. And yeah, you see here, one is kind of this cotton fabric, a little bit lighter, and here the fleece one, a little bit thicker. Of course, you can do multiple layers if you'd like to, as long as it's a little bit stretchy. As I said, any fabric should be pretty much fine. So yeah, if you'd like something a bit thicker, you can see this is a little bit thicker than cotton, but it does have this wool backside, so it's probably not the best for summer, but yeah, you can have something warmer even. As long as it's a little bit stretchy, it should be just fine. That way it's going to sit comfortably on your face when you wear it, and you won't have any issues of it getting too stretchy or too stretched out or not stretchy enough. Okay, so that was the thicker one. I'm going to be working on the thinner one, and that's actually the one I'm going to be using today with you guys. So you see here we have this back section. It is still stretchy. You can kind of see through it, and yeah, on the front is a little bit prettier pattern if you ask me, and it is pretty stretchy, so it should work just fine. So I keep mentioning that it should be stretchy because then you're going to be able to wear this around your ears, because you have this kind of like a ring or a loop shape that's going to go around your ear and just sit comfortably on there. So that's why you definitely need a little bit of stretch in there. So yeah, you should make a hole that can stretch in this direction a little bit so that you can simply have it mimic your ear shape basically. An alternative is to just do it halfway and then have a rubber band on here or any kind of elastic band. So you'd have a smaller mask, but you'd have the rubber band or the elastic band behind your ears. So in that case, just do it up to here and then you should be just fine. It's still pretty much the same process. So if you want to do it, then just take an elastic band and sew it on top and bottom, and you're getting the same effect in a little bit different style. So if you have stretchy fabric, you don't have to worry about this at all. What I also like about it is that it usually doesn't fray a lot, which means that you don't really have to do any seaming on the edges. So if it frays, then it could get too frayed after a while and basically become unusable. So no seams needed on this one. Also, something you probably can't really notice on these examples I have here, but some stretchy fabric tends to roll into a certain direction after you wear it for a while and wash it a couple of times, which isn't really a big problem. So anyway, let's do this stitch here. Okay, so I took a medium-sized needle just to make things easier to work with, and I have here red thread, so I'm gonna push it through the little hole on here. Just take your time. If you're new with this, it might take a couple of minutes before you get it. There we go. And what I like to do personally, this is optional, but I do recommend it, is just take the thread doubled as you work with it. I just think it's a little bit better, it's easier to work with, and it's definitely more secure on there when you have basically 2 threads going through each hole instead of just 1. So if you're doing that, take enough length and then just shorten or cut the end off, and you can do a knot or even a double knot to keep it all in place, and then you can get going. And doing a double knot, maybe even 2 doubled ones, just to be on the safe side. This we can also shorten. And then we can get started. So now that you have this, you can take your 2 pieces of fabric, make sure they are symmetrical and aligned. So you should have all the edges basically aligning with each other, and then we can get started with this. So when you open it up, you'll actually have this side connected, and that's where your nose and mouth will go. So that's the mask shape. This is the most important side, that's where the stitch goes, and you should have that aligned perfectly, and it's not going to be visible, the stitch, on the outside, so that's also a really big plus. It's going to look great. Should the stitch kind of bother you on the back side, then you can just do pretty side on pretty side, which is basically this way, and then you can do the stitch on the outside. So that's also an option. Probably doesn't look as pretty, but it's definitely more comfy that way. So feel free to choose whichever you prefer. And I'm just going to start at the corner. And that's where our knot goes, and it basically stops everything from falling apart. So that's going to keep everything in place, and I'm also going to secure it one more time by just doing a regular knot here. So you can see that it's keeping it in place, and now we're just going to keep continuing going through both sides. So of course there are different ways how you can stitch this up. So there are different methods. The easiest one probably is the through upwards through downwards, and that's basically when you go through the one side and then you just get to the other like this. So it's always up and down and up and down, and it's actually one of the easiest to do. So with this method, we actually get on top and the bottom both these little lines that are actually the stitch itself. This is also a really great method if you're a beginner with sewing. So in this case, I do have to mention the holes might be a little bit too big, so they might not close everything up nicely. That's simply because if you do a bigger distance, it's going to be more holes and less connecting points. So basically what you can do is just go in between these lines and do another extra stitch, basically a doubled stitch in the same method. That way you can have a little bit more secure stitch and less holes in your mask. Another method is basically to go always through the one side and then make kind of little tiny loops all around. So through the one side and then just basically circle around the entire edge. But I'm going to stick to this first method I showed you because I think it's a little bit simpler and faster to do. Just make sure that you don't have any unwanted knots. Okay, so here we are, and I did this on purpose so that I can show you. I have a little bit bigger distance between some spots, so basically what I'm gonna do now is just double this. So if I would open this right now as it is, I would have too big of a hole in some places, and it wouldn't be a really secure mask. So I'm just gonna do this one more time, basically the same method, but this time we're actually making sure that there is a line on both sides in every section of the stitch. So where I don't see a line is where I want a line this time. So I'm basically just going through the same holes that I already did, but I'm just kind of filling this with a little bit fuller stitch. So this is what I mean. We're just kind of completing this line or the visible stitch on the inside. And that's basically all you want, which is also going to prevent the mask from having any unwanted holes. When you do reach the end, you can of course secure it a couple of times, so just go through the entire thing or through the corner section a couple of times, and that way you're making sure that nothing is gonna rip or get weird after a while. What I also like to do is do a little knot on here, so really simple, just like if you were to tie your shoes or something like that, so nothing difficult. That way we're definitely making extra sure that everything stays in place. So I do that a couple of times as well. So this way we have this section secured and we can now shorten. Now when I turn this inside out, you're gonna see now our stitch is neatly done here, and you can see it's just the inside basically that has it visible. So if you're doing it this way, the inside is the section where you're going to be able to see your stitch. On the outside, it's going to be super neat. So if you'd like to prevent this, you can of course do another exact same layer and then just connect the outer edges. That way you will have two identical masks basically just stitched together, and then you won't have the stitch visible or bothering you on the inside. So this could be a half of a mask or actually an entire mask in case that this doesn't bother you when you wear it. So just try it out and see what fits you best. But you can definitely hide this stitch if you'd like to. You can also shorten it a little bit, although not too much so that you don't destroy the stitch. And yeah, this is pretty much the mask. So you can see, depending on the fabric you choose, it's going to be comfy, it's going to be nice to wear. In my case, I don't have to do this, but you can do a seam on all of the outer edges, at least where your nose goes. So a seam is definitely doable, but in my case, and if you have also something that doesn't fray, it's not necessary. So you can have this done in a matter of minutes basically. So you just need the one stitch and a clean cut, and that's basically it. So I hope you guys found this useful, and I hope for all of you who don't have a sewing machine at home or can't access it at the moment, I hope this was helpful. So you guys, as I said, I hope you enjoyed, I hope you found this useful. Feel free to let me know how you did this, if you did the same stitch or a different one. Maybe you know a trick that I don't, so feel free to share that with me and everybody else watching. So thanks for watching DIY Ideas. Feel free to check out our other mask videos as well as our other DIY videos, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye!